We started this almost, I guess, when this is going to come out, we're bordering around a month around our 7-year anniversary, because we started this podcast in September of 2016, where we did our first episode about Danganronpa 3, the anime.
Which is good.
Did a couple of sporadic episodes in the latter half of 2016 after that. And then 2017 onward, we've been going full sprint.
Every week.
Every week. Just chugging along.
I was going to say we're coming into your ear holes, but then I hate that, so I'm not going to say that.
Live, coming into you, straight into your ear holes.
Wait, we're not live?
Live to tape.
Live to recording. Yay!
Oh, yes. This is another... We have a milestone episode, of course, here this week on the Season Anime Checkup OVA, which is a podcast about having conversations that feature video games, anime, and manga. I'm Jared, joined as always by Doc Owl and Lady
Hello.
And yes, this is episode number 400. 400 dang old episodes.
Dang old grandpa?
I mean, that is what started this whole thing.
That was a good-ass anime.
It was. Good way to start off. And then, we've just been going since then. We've talked about a lot of different things, a lot of weird things, a lot of familiar things, a lot of the stuff that, we like, we dislike, everything in between.
Shared our interests with each other, like me making you play games and you making me play games. Us playing games together.
Those are all very true.
It's
a big thing. It's very wild, I feel like, to feel like we've gotten here to this milestone, because it's just like it's so many episodes that's hard to fathom. And it's also just like such a long period of time for us doing this. I guess it would be 8 years. 2016 and 2024, not 7. I'm dumb. I don't know numbers. That's why I got an English degree, so...
I was about to correct you, because I was like, wait a minute, 2017 is 7 years, because, 2016...
I said it with such confidence that you were just like, wait, is that... I guess. I guess that's right.
An English degree and a history degree. Getting a podcast together.
Yep. That's how it goes. I had to hound Al to do this, and then eventually she coalesced, and here we are. That's how this happened.
Are you talking about how the podcast happened generally?
Yes.
I mean, to be fair, you were like, hey, it'll help you get better at talking on the fly. And I was like, okay.
And here we are. Okay, 400 episodes later.
Yay!
Do you think that's worked out or not?
I mean, I got a PhD. I did my defense. I've done presentations since then. So, like, I couldn't have gotten worse, right?
Yeah. I think if you had gotten worse, that would be much more of a wild accomplishment.
So, and now I teach people how to podcast, like, for my classes and stuff.
Yep.
So, there's that.
Oh, man. But yeah, we've been doing this a long time. It's been a fun ride doing this whole time, and I'm looking forward.
It's not dying, by the way.
Yeah, no, this is it. We're wrapping it up. See you next week for episode 399.
No!
As we start counting backwards to 1, and then we'll see what happens once we get there. We're just going to post all of the episodes, but they're backwards. You have to find the hidden messages throughout the last 399 episodes, and then once you do that, you get a prize.
Yeah.
Of course.
Perfect. None of this is true. We are going to continue the podcast, though.
No, it's just fun to reflect on things.
No,
it
is.
To these big milestones and all that sort of stuff.
I mean, I think it's a huge deal that we've been doing it for this long and this consistent, and we're at this many episodes.
We usually like to do fun, little, weird one-off episodes when we get to these big old milestones. When we got to episode 100, we ranked all the previous 99 episodes that we had done. We obviously can't do that with 400 because that's a lot of episodes.
That would take a long time. I would remember some of them.
When we got to episode 200, we watched the Last Dance documentary about the 1997-1998 Chicago Bulls.
Hey, that helped me last night when I was watching the DNC stuff because I was like, hey, I know who that guy is.
Yeah, Al saw Steve Kerr, was like, hey, Steve Kerr's on the DNC. And then I told Al about Steve Kerr's son, and she was like, oh, no.
Well, at first, I'm not going to say it out loud.
No.
But at first, I typed it out and I was like, oh, huh, that seems like a normal name. And then I said it and I was like, oh, no. And I just remember texting you, oh, no, in all caps.
That's the I feel like that's the reaction everyone has when they first see that.
Oh, no, that is not relatively normal. Who's going to tell him?
Oh boy. Episode 300, we watched some pro wrestling. We watched New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom 14 Night 1. So Al got to go through a full event, full show. And that brings us to episode 400. We were kind of racking our brains, being like, what do we do? What's fun? And I got the idea of being like, what if I just showed Al a bunch of different things from wrestling? So we have like a mix of styles. This is Jared's wrestling mixtape, of course, which is what we're probably going to call this episode.
I think it's a good idea.
So yeah, we're just gonna go through a bunch. We watched a bunch of different matches that span different promotions, different styles, different countries, different eras, all sorts of stuff. So kind of gave Al a wide swath to really go through and see just how different wrestling has been from the 90s to now, how styles have changed, how things have evolved over time, how things were revolutionary in the past and can still be seen today and all that sort of stuff. So just a varied assortment of matches here. It's all singles matches because I figured that would just make it easier for Al instead of just having multi-man or tag matches where you got to keep track of a bunch of people, and it's just easier to find good singles matches off the top of my brain. So that's just the way it is for sure. But yeah, we watched a lot of stuff. Al was here. She was confused probably for a lot of it, but got to see a lot of wild stuff, a lot of brains being bashed in, some blood here and there.
Potentially a tooth getting knocked out?
Potentially a tooth getting knocked out, things that are just normal things that happen in the state of professional wrestling.
Maybe a broken hand? There's something else that might have broken at some point. I don't remember what it was, though.
Your brain.
My brain was long broken, my friend. I don't know if you realize it or not.
No, I'm just now learning this, of course.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Makes sense.
So we're just going to go down through the list of how we watched them chronologically, which is how I had them listed in my list that I made up for this. The list will be in the description of this podcast if you want to see what we watched or go watch what we watched afterwards and be like, huh, okay, whatever.
Can I look at the list?
I mean, I could share it with you if you would like.
I just want to look at it. I've seen it on Zoom. Shout out Zoom if you want to sponsor us or anything. I
sent it to you.
You did? You did. Thank you.
See, I'm very nice and allow access.
It's true. This is why he's my best friend.
Nito Frito.
I know. You're the best.
That's me.
I'm in.
Welcome here to this fancy list. We'll start off with our first match we watched. That's words that I gotta say. From the WWF, the World Wrestling Federation, which is not called that now anymore.
No, because that's the Panda Company.
Yes, the World Wildlife Fund, I think, Foundation Fund, whatever, sued the WWF, and then they had to change their name to the WWE, which of course stands for World Wrestling Entertainment.
Nah.
Less fun. But yes, this is back when they were still the WWF. This is WrestleMania 13 from March 23rd, 1997. This is a submission match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret the Hitman Hart with special referee Ken Shamrock.
That dude was beefy.
He's very big. Very all natural, of course.
I don't think that's true. I
What do
could
you
be wrong,
mean?
but I don't think that's true.
Are you telling me no one was drug testing back then?
That man had muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles.
Hey, that's how it goes sometimes.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a very popular, good match, I guess you could say. A very popular, well respected, well rated match in the annals of the WWF/WWE. A turning point for the Stone Cold character for sure. A turning point for the Bret Hart character for sure, as this is one of the famous implementations of the double turn, which, for clarification, going into this match, Stone Cold was the heel, the bad guy. Bret Hart was the babyface, the good guy. By the end of this match, they have flipped roles, and now Stone Cold is the good guy. Bret Hart is the bad guy. This, of course, will lead into the remaining parts of 1997, where Bret Hart will lead his faction, the Hart Foundation, consisting of people in his family, as the top heel group in the WWF until November. Austin will slowly and start to rise up the card as the basically going to become the next top babyface, as he will in 1998 and beyond. 1997 is probably one of my favorite months or years for the WWF, because they do the USA versus Canada feud here, which is led by Bret Hart turning heel. He is Canadian, and they do some fun things here where they do a lot of shows in both America and Canada, and you get these fun crowd things where when they go to Canada, Bret is seen as the valiant hero, and he's cheered vehemently and everything. Where and then the quote unquote baby faces, good guys that he's feuding with are all just booed relentlessly. But when you go to America, everything's flip flopped, and then he's getting booed relentlessly and all that sort of stuff. So it's a very fun dynamic that they're able to pull off here. And all pretty much the catalyst is this match, and this match is very, very good. It's very violent in a way that makes sense for these characters and how they're able to, execute both of their turns by the end of the match. You get the rare 1997 blood, which they weren't supposed to do, but they just did anyways because they were like, we need blood for this match, and they were 100% right.
Yeah, Steve Austin, his face is all messed up by the end of it.
He's wearing the crimson mask.
Is that what they call it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's what he's doing, because he's bleeding a lot.
Yeah, you get the very iconic shot that you see in a ton of hype videos or promotional stuff of Austin rising up out of the sharpshooter and the blood just streaming down his face. It's a very visceral shot, but also it's just very cool.
If I looked at his Wikipedia page right now, would that shot be on there?
I don't know if that shot would be on there, but I don't know. Probably not, because they probably wouldn't want to put blood on Wikipedia.
You'd be surprised what they put on Wikipedia.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But yeah, what did you think of this here matchup?
I remember being kind of confused by this one at first, because it seemed like there was some kind of feud that I was not aware of.
Yeah, so I guess the backstory is Bret had gone away in 1996 to go film a television show, essentially, but they kind of do it so in storyline of oh, he's fed up because he just lost the title, so he's going away for a bit. He comes back in the end of November for a pay-per-view, and he handpicks Stone Cold to be his opponent because he's oh, I saw this guy on TV and everything, and I thought he would be a good opponent and everything. And he beats him, and then Austin kind of starts terrorizing him afterwards, and this leads up to the Royal Rumble, where Bret thinks he's won that big match, and then Austin cheats his way into winning it and everything, and then they just start going back and forth for the next couple of months, and that leads into this match essentially.
Okay, I also remember there being a small child that they keep showing for some reason,
which I think was Bret's kid.
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah, this was not the most violent one that we watched, but it was pretty violent.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you having to explain a lot of lore to me when we watched this one, the whole 316 thing. I was like, isn't that just a Bible verse? Because my brother and I were out of wrestling at this point. Like Keller, sorry, my brother's name is Keller. I don't know if I mentioned that or not. Am I doxing myself? Anyway,
Eh.
everybody knows who I am anyway, so like it's not that hard to figure it out. Anyway, Keller was out of it by that point. He had been into wrestling in the 90s and then he was out. And so like when he got out of things, I got out of things because that's just kind of how I
Yeah.
just follow it along with. So this was like beyond my time, so I didn't understand anything that was happening. Um, but yeah, so I didn't get any of the like Bible verse stuff, which apparently is not a Bible verse. It's like a joke slogan thing.
Sure.
Is that correct to say?
I think a slogan might be the right way to go about that.
Okay, okay. So yeah, it was wild to see how it ended and how like they're playing up the whole thing of like he didn't submit,
Hmm.
he just passed out, which I think is kind of submitting, but like that's beside the point. Like they were trying to make it so that like, he lost but he didn't lose, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was an interesting way to end it plot wise. And so I would want to know like what happens after this. I know you say they switch roles, but like how does that actually play out? Because it seems like neither of them would be good at the opposite role, except for I don't know, Hart was kind of at the end, so
A lot of it is Bret basically being like the U.S. American fans like just don't respect me anymore. So
mhm.
they're booing me and all that sort of stuff. But everyone like globally respects me. It's just the American fans who hate me now. So like that's kind of like his MO. Austin's basically just like he does the same stuff, but he just gets cheered for it now.
Oh, so that's all that it is. It's just
Yeah.
okay. Huh. Interesting.
Interesting.
It felt to me, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, um, like Hart felt more of like the like early mid 90s style wrestling that I like had seen before, whereas Steve Austin felt not as much like that. He felt like a newer kind of wrestling that I had not really been familiar with.
Sure. I
It
mean
felt
they
like kind of a generation clash if
sure, I think you could say that. Like obviously Bret Hart has been wrestling longer than Austin. But Austin had been wrestling probably almost 10 years at this point. Um his style is definitely going to change more in the summer of 97 when he breaks his neck. Um
ah.
so Austin will turn more into like a brawling style rather than being as a little bit more technical as he is here. Um so definitely he'll have like a more different style going forward, but yeah, I think you could say that like it is definitely it is two generations I think colliding because like I think when you look back at the history of the WWF, like Bret Hart is seen throughout the early to mid to a little bit late 90s before he is cast out, and then Austin basically takes up the reins from basically this point up through 2001.
Mhm.
So I think that is an apt comparison.
Yay. I know things somewhat, maybe.
So yeah, that match is good. I still enjoy watching that match. I've seen that match a bajillion times at this point, but it's still fun, and I like watching it. So
And you said you were a Hart fan at that point.
yeah, little 7-year-old me. I mean, I by that time I'd been watching the WWF and other stuff since I was like born.
Right.
So and basically around the time that I had like had cognizant ideas and everything, Bret Hart had been on top or around being on top, so like it just made sense.
That was your guy.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So yeah, that match is good. Do you have anything else you want to say about it, or do you want to move on?
Let's move on.
Let's move on. So we went to, of course, the rival promotion of the WWF in the mid to late 90s, WCW World Championship Wrestling. This is also from 1997, August 26, 1997 to be exact, at Halloween Havoc. This is the for the WCW Cruiserweight Championship, but also it is title versus mask.
That's this October.
What did I say? November?
You said August.
August? I definitely meant October. Can't read. See, numbers, they don't numbers. But yes, October. Champion Eddie Guerrero defends against Rey Mysterio Jr. WCW, of course, like I said, the rival promotion of the WWF in the mid to late 90s. At this point in time, they were the number one promotion in the world, or at least in the United States. I don't know about the world per se, but a big factor of this was two things. The NWO storyline that they had, where they had basically guys acting like they were coming in from the WWF to take over the company and all that, and then they turned Hulk Hogan heel. That was a big thing because he had never been heel before. And then one of the other things that really boosted WCW at this point in time was the Cruiserweight division, which was basically them going out and poaching a lot of people from other promotions, especially Mexico, where you had smaller guys doing this high-flying, faster style that a lot of people in the U.S., especially when they were watching like mainstream promotions, had never really seen before, and it really helped push the promotion in a way that they didn't have before. So this is a prime example of the Cruiserweight division, probably seen as one of the best Cruiserweight matches of all time. Just because of like some of the innovation that they do in this match, and just these are two dudes who do each other like so well inside and out, and had wrestled like probably a bajillion times before, and in WCW and in Mexico and all that sort of stuff, and could just like do this in their sleep and could pull out like a great match like this. So, and of course the story of this match is Eddie's the champion. He wants Rey Mysterio Jr.'s mask because if you unmask the luchador, it is a big sign of disrespect. And then, oh God, people got to see their face. Oh no.
Oh no.
But yeah, that's the story of this match. What did you think of this match?
This Eddie fellow did not have the worst hair of all of the shows that we watched, but he was pretty close.
Had a mullet, good mullet.
Was it a
slimy mullet?
It was a very slimy mullet. I wouldn't say good, but it was a very slimy mullet. Again, probably not the worst hairstyle of all the ones we watched, but it was pretty terrible. I like that Rey Mysterio dude kind of looked like some kind of weird version of like a wrestling version of the Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
But he also had like wrestling panties on. That was pretty funny. Yeah, this one was confusing to me because I didn't quite like I think I theoretically understand the whole like luchador thing with like the mask removal is a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't quite sure like what plot they were going for here other than just like I want your mask.
That's kind of it.
Okay, yeah, there was like some mask ripping at one point, I think.
Yes.
That was this one, right?
Yes.
Is this the babyface man too?
Yes.
That man is a child under there. My God. Which I say is he's probably like 50 years old now, but
yeah.
If not older. But yeah, he looked like a babyface. But yeah, so I remember this one being slightly confusing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But that wasn't to say that it was bad. This one didn't feel as like inherently violent as some of the other ones.
Yeah.
It felt more like showy.
Right.
Which is not a bad thing, but like it felt different from some of the other ones we watched.
Like definitely we're gonna go show off some moves that people have never seen before and just do some crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
These two of course they would be allies, enemies over the course of the next 8 years as they would feud in WCW, and then both of them would eventually go into the WWE where they would be allies and feud. They would infamously have a ladder match in WWE for the custody of Ray's son.
What?
That's a real thing that happened.
Why?
The story was that Eddie was like claiming that he was the actual
Whoa!
It was a whole thing. It's a good match, but it's a very funny storyline.
It's
but
one way to get custody, I guess.
They would
Wait, who won custody?
Ray.
Okay, so he got to keep his son.
Yes.
All right, well, that's good.
But yeah, they would basically just be back and forth against each other throughout their entire careers up until Eddie's untimely passing in 2005.
Oh. You didn't tell me that part.
Well, now you know.
Was it natural?
No.
Oh no. Oh no, I'm sorry I asked.
It was like a heart thing, but like it was probably not helped by drugs, so
yeah, okay, that's fair.
So one of those types of situations.
Pepperoni, oh my god, he was 38?
Yep.
It's 2 years older than me.
Yep.
Hate that.
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry, fella. And your slimy mullet. Rest in peace, my guy. Well, it looks like he got rid of the slimy mullet eventually.
Yeah. He had frosted tips at one point, though.
Oh, God, that's not better. Oh, boy. Okay.
All right. Do you have anything else you want to say about this one, or do you want to move on?
I don't remember anything particular about this one. I was like, hey, I need to say things about this.
Okay. Well, let's move on. There was, of course, in the mid-90s, or the 90s to up till 2001, a third major U.S. promotion, of course, ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. We are watching a match from the Revival pay-per-view, or the reunion pay-per-view that WWE put on, called ECW One Night Stand, from June 12th, 2005. This is a match that was a prominent rivalry in the late 90s of ECW, and was a very violent rivalry, to say the least. This is Mike Awesome versus Masato Tanaka.
This one was one of the more violent ones we watched.
Yep.
Wow. Wow.
But yeah, these two, basically, this was just how they would wrestle when they were in the original promotion, when they would wrestle in Japan. It was just hard-hitting, brutal, unprotected chair shots, wild table bumps. That's just what they did. And they would come back and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And then when they did the reunion show, they came back and did it again, and everyone lost their minds when they watched this match, being like, oh my God.
Is this the one that had the almost very dangerous table?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Somebody almost could have died.
Someone almost got impaled.
Yeah, somebody could have gotten impaled by a table. Well, not the table itself. That would have been really intense, but a piece of a table.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you pointed that out and was like, oh God, we're going to see something terrible. And luckily we didn't, but like, ooh. Ooh, they got real close.
They got real close.
My God. But yeah, this one felt extremely short, and I think that's a good thing because it was also extremely violent.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that much brutal stuff to each other for that long.
No.
Or else somebody is legit gonna go to a hospital.
Yeah. It's wild that neither of these guys got signed or did anything with the WWE after this.
Mm-hmm.
Because they both could go. Mike Awesome is definitely one of the most, like, probably the biggest what ifs in professional wrestling, because like he had his ECW run and it was great. He goes to WCW when he has the title, and everyone makes a big hoopla about that because people in wrestling are the biggest marks of all. But they do literally nothing with him. He goes to the WWF when they buy out WCW. They do nothing with him, even though like he's a big jack dude who can move, move as well as a dude who's like 100 pounds lighter than him. And then I think he goes back to Japan after that for a couple years. He comes back and does this one off, and then a couple years later he commits suicide, unfortunately.
Is this a normal thing in wrestling?
A lot of wrestlers, at least 10 plus years ago, died young. It's definitely kind of went down a bit recently because I think more people understand the issues with head trauma and drug abuse and all that sort of stuff. So they're living a little bit longer now, but yeah, wrestlers dying young was definitely an epidemic for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with all the head trauma that was just
Yeah,
not paid attention to.
it's possible because yeah, there's a lot of unprotected chair shots in this match, and he definitely took some
Yep.
in other matches and other promotions as well throughout his career. So definitely didn't help. And look, I will tell you straight up, hey, we should not be doing unprotected unprotected chair shots to the head in professional wrestling in the year 2024. That being said, this match rules and it kicks so much ass. But yeah, I remember when I was going through the list, I put down the promotions and everything. I was like, oh, this is definitely, I got to put this on here because it's definitely just going to be such a viscerally different thing for Al to see and just be like, just to see her react to just how brutal it is.
It was intense. I got so scared when I saw that table splinter up like that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought somebody's arm was gonna get impaled.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean somebody else's arm gets up by a table later in our thing, but this was not that opportunity, and luckily there was no impaling that happened. But it was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also wild to see the size difference in these two guys.
Yeah. But these are two dudes that just were made to wrestle each other essentially.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they seemed like they really went together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, went together and fighting each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
So yeah, there's that match. Do you have anything else you want to add other than ow my head?
Ow my head. Owie.
Let's take things over to Japan.
Japan.
This is from New Japan Pro Wrestling, the New Beginning in Osaka from February 9th, 2020. So we're moving forward into more current era stuff.
Oh, February 2020.
Yeah, this is, yep. This is for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship with champion Hiromu Takahashi defending against Dragon Lee. These two, of course, were, I wouldn't say bitter rivals, but they were big rivals in the fact that just two of the best that could do it, and it was just a big, thing of one-upsmanship. Their rivalry started when Hiromu went on excursion to Mexico to CMLL, which was Dragon Lee's home promotion at the time, and they basically put those two together, and they would just do matches like this all the time. And not a whole lot of people would have been able to see it because it's harder to watch Mexican stuff overseas. But they did a match in Japan. They brought Hiromu back for a one-off as part of their New Japan CMLL cross promotion stuff they would do, and they did this match, and everyone just literally lost their minds oh, this is insane. What are these two doing? Even though it was basically the same stuff they had been doing. So that was a lot of people's first introduction to this rivalry, and then basically since then they had matches here and there, and they would just be wild and crazy and out of control. That would of course culminate in 2018 when they had a match in San Francisco, and Dragon Lee would accidentally break Hiromu's neck in the match, and that would put him out of action for over a year. And this match is the first time they are wrestling since that incident took place. So the stakes are high, and then the title's on the line, and these two know each other so well, so it's just what you're going to expect going into this, but also you don't exactly know because how is the styles going to change, especially after the neck breaking accident? Are they going to be safer with each other, or are they still going to go just balls to the wall and go full out?
The answer is that one.
Yes, that's the answer.
Which I guess for clarification, I knew about Takahashi, because you had talked about him in context of the kitty.
Mm-hmm.
He had a kitty cat. And then I knew that he had the broken neck. Because I knew that you followed him.
Yes.
But that was my information going in this. Also, at one point, somebody spits on somebody in this match and was like, they don't know.
They don't know yet.
They don't know yet. I mean, you shouldn't spit on people anyway, but like in February 2020.
Sketchy.
But yeah, this one was wild because Takahashi gets like, so there are two dudes that I've seen get crazy eyes and then they just go completely bonkers on people.
Yep.
Takahashi's one. The second one we'll see,
Next.
And then next one. But like they get crazy eyes and it's like something flips on them and they just go and like it's intense to watch. Like it's kind of like visceral. It's kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it was pretty cool to see him like come back from that, and I felt bad because the announcer guys kept being like, "Is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? Oh no, he's gonna drop him on his neck. Why would he do that?" Ah! And it's like, stop doing that to him. You already broke his neck once. But I guess
do it again.
He's like, you know what? I don't care. I do what I gotta do. I'm gonna win. He didn't win. But I mean, I had mentioned to you when we were talking about this, like if I were the one that was writing the plot for this, I would do the same thing. I would make Takahashi win because it makes sense.
Yeah.
So you said something about like Dragon Lee is like, I know he's like a luchador type character in this.
Yeah.
But does he have some kind of like background in Japan, or does he just have background in Japanese wrestling, or like
I mean
what's his deal?
He basically wrestled he done a few tours with New Japan just because of like the promotion, the cross promotion he had with his home promotion, CMLL. So like they would send him over and all that sort of stuff. I think at this point he was out of CMLL, which is why he's going by Ryuli here.
Oh yeah.
He didn't. I think at the time he didn't have the rights to the name, but he has it now in WWE. Copyrights are weird. But yeah, like he had been a known quantity in Japan by this point. Through this rivalry in particular, but also like he had been doing stuff in Japan with New Japan for a few years now, so like he was a known thing. But yeah, he was before that he had mostly just wrestled in Mexico.
So is he also a babyface under there, or do we know?
I don't know. I've never seen him unmasked. I've never like went to look.
Right.
I would assume he's probably a handsome man, because I feel like that's anytime I see current day luchadors get unmasked, I'm like, oh, they're just handsome dudes under there.
just a handsome guy.
Yeah, so that's just how it usually goes.
Yeah, I mean, like looking at him, he looks like he could probably be a handsome guy under there. But yeah, I was glad that there was like some sense of redemption here, even though like I barely knew the plot line. I was like, yeah, good for you, buddy. But the spitting did make me really uncomfortable.
You're like, oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
I also like that they spent like 7 to 8 minutes of the opening parts of this match just chopping each other in the chest.
Oh, they were just slapping.
Yeah.
Do you have to edit that?
Maybe.
If I say slapping boobies,
That's fine.
Okay.
That gets the point across as well.
They were just legit just slapping boobies at each other like for a solid like 10 minutes, just back and forth booby slapping. Which like for the record, that does hurt really bad. And like the bruising and the blood coming up and the redness and all that, like it was very obvious by the time they were done. But I mean, it was just repeated booby slapping, and I was like, that's an interesting technique. I didn't know that was a thing in wrestling, to just slap each other's boobas.
Yeah.
But apparently it is, and that's what they did. They just slapped boobas for 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to touch the booba, my guys. Maybe don't touch it quite that violently, but like, you do you.
Yeah.
I forgot about the movie slapping. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry.
I would definitely say I think this is it is a not as insane match for these two have had.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything beforehand would have been way more insane, but like that's because they had no limit, and now they kind of have to have a limit. But I think it also shows like these two have just such insane trust in one another that they can go out and just do the wildest possible.
It was fun.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite ones we watched.
Yeah, it's a shame that we can't see this match anymore currently because Dragon Lee's in WWE and Hiromu's still in New Japan, so that's a thing. But I hope one day we get to see these two go at it again and they just go out of their minds again. Yeah. Up next, we're going to stay in Japan. We're going to go back in time a little bit. This is from May 4th, 2010, from DDT Max Bump 2010. For the KOD Openweight Championship, champion Daisuke Sekimoto defending against Kota Ibushi.
My flippy boy.
Two dudes who are probably in their prime at this point, or like getting there. Two dudes who look very different from one another in terms of body styles, in terms of wrestling styles, but it works so well here. This is definitely a styles makes fights type deal.
Daisuke Sekimoto had the worst hair out of all the matches we saw. His hair was real bad. It wasn't
his 2010
even
mullet.
It was a rat tail. that was a rat tail.
It was that, and then Kota's got his boy band hair.
His boy band hair. I was like, oh my god! But like, Daisuke is built like a brick house.
Mm-hmm.
My god, that dude is huge and wide, and like, I don't know how anyone could ever like make him go airborne ever. He seems like he's kind of rooted to the ground.
Yeah.
But there were times where he was lifted, and I was like, oh wow, okay. And then Ibushi is our flippy boy. I know him because he does flippies.
And he does a lot of flippies here. His legs are still working here, which is good.
Did they not work
He like
anymore?
blew his legs out earlier this year.
Oh,
in a match and like put him on the shelf for a while. I think actually these two wrestled each other like very recently.
Did they?
I think Kota's still hurt, so it was like a 5-minute thing. But yeah, they wrestled in July.
Wow.
For like 5 minutes on a GLEAT show. But yeah, it was a 5 time limit draw. But I think because Kota's probably still injured. But yeah, and Daisuke is not the same person he is in 2010 as he is now.
I'm not the same person 10 years ago. Or,
true. It's 14 years ago.
14 years ago. Like, I was in college then.
But yeah, that's just a wild thing. But yeah, these two just, it's a slow start to this one because they kind of it's a big feeling out process. And then like you have the big styles of like Daisuke just doing a bunch of power moves and just overpowering Kota. Kota's just like does all his flippy stuff, just some wild flippy stuff where he does a backflip onto him at one point. I was like, what are you doing, my dude?
Yeah, he does.
And that's basically kind of the style and the story of this match is just what is going to win out, power or speed, essentially. Kota does the death stare thing and goes into that place where he's just going to kick you in the head multiple times and shove the referee away to keep kicking you in the head.
When he gets that scary look in his eyes, every single time I'm just like, oh god.
I like how he immediately did that and you're like, oh, I know this. I've seen this before.
Like I've seen him wrestle like what 3 or 4 times prior to this, and I was just like, I know that look.
Yeah.
I know that look. I know what's about to happen. So I don't know what that tells you about me and what I know about Kota Ibushi, but I knew that something had flipped in this guy. I was like, oh no. It wasn't enough, but
still good.
It was still good. This was a fun match to watch. And it was wild to see like the different styles. Sorry.
Yeah. I like the ending stretch a lot where like it's just like they're just throwing bombs at each other. There's like a one point where I think like Daisuke hits him with a brainbuster and Kota just kicks out a one and just like I'm like, all right, cool, let's just keep doing this. They just headbutt each other at one point and it splits Daisuke's head open. Some fun things in this match where they just beat the tar out of each other.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I was sad the Kota lost, but like I also understand how he lost because Daisuke's a brick
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
He,
But yeah,
woof.
these two guys are probably like I said, this is like the primes of their career. They're just like the best. Some of the best versions of themselves, and they're just going at it, and it's good.
It's bad when your best version of you has a rat tail.
Hey, sometimes you gotta take the good with the bad.
Hmm.
You have anything else you want to say about that, or?
Highlights Kota Ibushi's shoot, what are they called? It's like his boot covers basically.
His kick pads?
No, he basically has like the same kind of thing that like cosplayers wear over their boots, where it's just like,
Yeah, they're usually like kick pads.
oh, okay, because like the gals from Love Live wear them too. That like they wear regular shoes and then they wear
Mm-hmm.
like the shoe covers over
Yeah,
them.
yeah, yeah.
Like that was very obvious. That's what he had, and I was like, oh hey, you got like cosplay shoes on, buddy.
It's to basically like protect your leggies and also help somewhat kind of protect your opponent from getting the full brunt of a kick of
Ah,
bone.
okay,
So
yeah, that's fair.
there's like usually a little bit of padding in there.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes
So yeah.
sense.
After that, we went back to the modern day. This
Uh-huh.
is the other big promotion currently in the U.S. This is AEW All Elite Wrestling from Wrestledream of last year, October 1st, 2023. Dubbed the Dream Match. This is the American Dragon Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. in a match that they wanted to determine who is the best technical wrestler in the world. And this is
I had to ask you if Zack Sabre Jr. was a douchebag because his douchebag haircut, but you said he's not. So
no, he's very left winging.
hell yeah, we'll take that.
Also, his like finishers are all like very long-winded named and very funny.
Does he basically have like emo band like album or song title like finishers? Like where they're like 15 words long. You're like,
Yeah,
why?
essentially.
That's funny. I like that.
Definitely, this is a match that is very stylistically different from everything else because
Yes.
it's very much just we're doing a technical wrestling masterclass here, and that's the whole thing. That's our gist here. So yeah, these two I think had wrestled once or twice before, but it was like years and years ago, in probably like some rink-eating UK promotion. But yeah, this is a part of the Bryan Danielson retirement tour because he announced.
Oh, is he retired now?
Not yet. He announced I think a month or so before this that he was like this was like he's going into his last year of full-time wrestling.
Oh, okay.
So this was a match he wanted. I think they were supposed to do it at some point before, and now they're just going to do it now. And yeah, that's how we get this match, of course.
Yeah, because they talk a lot about his injured right arm in this one.
He had broken his arm facing Kazuchika Okada at Forbidden Door in June or July of 2023, and he had come back a couple months before, so like he had kind of come back a little early probably than he should have, but yeah, he's still like probably not 100% with that arm yet. And that is one of the stories going into this is like, how's the arm going to hold up? Do you target the arm?
The answer is yes.
Target the arm.
Target the arm. So that's Umi's husband that broke his arm?
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, this match is a lot of fun. We get Jon Moxley on commentary, and he's just having the time of his life.
I don't know who that is.
He was the guy who talked a lot, just like had like a gruff voice. He's the one who talked about Bryan Danielson getting into weird sex stuff.
Right.
At one point.
That was such a weird thing to just bring up about like, oh yeah, this guy's into tantric sex. I'm like, excuse me? Hey, sir?
How do
you know about his sex life?
Well, they're in a faction together, that's why.
I don't know what that means, but also like, why are they talking about their tantric sex? So weird. It's such a strange thing to bring up. It's like, oh yeah, he broke his right arm and he's got a steel thing in there. Also, do you know he's into tantric sex? It's like, buddy, maybe you should have kept that part to yourself.
Nah.
Nah. So that was wild.
Yep.
I didn't know who that guy was, but that's funny.
Yeah, I think he was hurt during this show, so they just put him on commentary for like matches that his group was involved in.
Oh,
And a
okay.
lot of it was just like him just chit chatting and saying stuff off the cuff and also cursing a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
There's at one point I think during the show, like he like they get on him for like cussing and everything on the mic, so he like tries to take the mic off, and you just hear him yelling, "F him up!" And then like he puts the mic back on. They're like, "We heard you." Like, I took the mic away. What do you mean? It's very good.
It's really funny.
But yeah, what did you think of this match?
I was gonna say, like, one of the things that was interesting about this match in particular is that like this was billed as like technical wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And so that's how the previous match that we watched, the Daisuke and Kota Ibushi match, started with some of that like more technical stuff.
Right.
So it was like a nice segue in for me to know like what I was actually supposed to be looking for here.
Yeah, this is definitely a lot of grappling because that's just what these guys are very known for. Grappling escapes, a lot of submissions, a lot of joint manipulation.
They did some like wild flipping stuff where they were just like standing on each other's legs and like crabs and things like that. And I was like, I don't know what's happening here, but it looks wild. Um, Obviously he did target the injured arm, so that was
Yes.
part of the plot here of like, is that gonna hold him back? Um, and it seemed like it was kind of brutal at points, but
Mm-hmm.
like he got through it, so cool for him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was a different style than what we had seen for the most part. Because like I said, the previous one it started that way, but it didn't end that way. This one was like start to finish, like very, very technical.
Yeah. Yes, you're not wrong.
Um, so it was a different thing than what we've been watching previously.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, it's definitely a slower pace compared to everything else.
Yes.
Like just in general. Did that take you out of it?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
All
It
right.
seemed fine to me. It was entertaining to watch.
All right.
Like I said, there was the wild crab things where they were like standing on each other's legs. And I was like, I don't understand how that works, but sure. It kind of felt like if you had put these guys into like Cirque du Soleil or something, like they would have fit in perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just kind of like showy at points.
Mm-hmm.
But like it wasn't. I was gonna say it's not as violent. I mean, there were violent moments, but it didn't feel quite as violent as some of the other ones.
It's violent in the way that like if you were watching like a grappling match of like two jiu-jitsu artists
Yeah,
going
like
at each other.
obviously there's still a lot of pain and injury and ouchies going on here. So it's not like it's like a walk in the park, but like it doesn't feel as like super like you're not seeing them like headbutt each other repeatedly. You're not
No.
seeing somebody get thrown onto a table that's been broken in half.
No.
Um, so like that was different than what we had seen so far.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting to see a different style.
Yeah.
And like a different style from start to finish.
Yeah.
It was an interesting match.
Got to hear a British man be very angry.
He was so mad.
I called him a wanker once in a wrestling event.
Did you mean to?
You remember the tweet where I said I was like you could see me front row?
Yeah, the yellow.
So at that event, he was in the main event and I yelled that he was a wanker, and then immediately right back at me he's like, "You don't even know what a wanker is." I was like, "All right." That was a fun moment.
And
But yeah, I thought that this match would be good because, like you said, the styles were very different from everything we had seen so far. Just again, give you a bigger look into the scope of professional wrestling.
mm-hmm.
But yeah, now we get to our penultimate match. We're going to some women's wrestling.
Man, back into the violence.
Back into some violence. This is from GAEA Big Destruction Tag 2 from February 13th, 2000 for the AAAW Championship. It is champion Aja Kong defending against KAORU. Aja Kong, a legend in women's wrestling. You know, she's been doing it forever. Her whole thing is that, like, she's going to beat the out of you.
Yeah,
That's the thing. She's been doing it, like I said, forever. She's been in Japan for most of her career, but she's also done stuff in U.S. promotions here and there, of course. So people are very aware of who she is. I think people are a lot less aware of who KAORU is. I mean, I'm a lot less aware of who she is. I think she's more, from what I've read, like, she was more into, like, the hardcore scene, which very much shows in this match. So, like, she's probably not that as well known. But this match is something to be seen, to be viewed, because it is amazing.
It was intense from
Yes.
start to finish.
Like, they start off and it's like they're going, and then it's like, all right, we're doing table spots right now. We're going. We're gonna hit each other over the head with bits of this table. I found a sign. Let me just bonk you in the head with it.
I'm gonna bonk you with the same sign later. Hey, why don't you lay on this table while I try and jump on you? Oh no, I missed. Oh no, my butt. All right, well, let's try that again. I'm gonna put you on this table. Stay this time. Jump.
I'm gonna be bleeding for 90% of this match.
Just profusely bleeding. I don't know how she saw anything. Her, like, hair was caked. Aja Kong's arm got, like, super f***ed up at one point by the table. And then, like, KAORU just kept going at that same arm and, like, messing with it again. Jesus.
Yeah, this is a very violent match. But I think it's also a good representation of, like, the traditional, like, big small dynamic in wrestling, where you have, like, the bigger person having to deal with the smaller, speedier person, and, like, also, like, Aja Kong's, you know, just this badass, and KAORU's got to go up against that. And I feel like she brought, like, a good amount of, like, babyface fire to, like, just keep not you know, going out, like, keep coming back, not going down to things that she probably should have, but, like, she just kept coming back for more. Just a very well told story that, like, even if, like, you don't understand the language or, like, don't understand, like, the commentary or anything, you don't have to. Like, it's incredibly easily well told throughout this entire match. Of, like, here's what we're doing. All right, you can completely understand this, and you know exactly what we're going for from the 20 minutes that we're in this match. It's a very fast 20 minutes because it feels like a sprint, but they're just, like, doing things, and everything just feels impactful and violent, because it pretty much is, because that's just how this match goes, man. They
possibly KAORU lost a tooth.
Each other. Yeah, there's at one point she smiles and, like, she has a tooth gone. I don't know if she didn't have a tooth to begin with or not, because, like, obviously this is, like, her style of wrestling and everything, so, like, that just could be the thing, or she lost it in this match, and that could just be a thing as well. Who knows?
Because she took some pretty intense headshots.
Yes.
So it's possible she lost it. And I mean, she was already bleeding pretty severely from her head to begin with, so, like, it's kind of hard to see, but I was like, oh. Also, I looked into it. I didn't realize that Aja Kong was part African American. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, that's a really cool thing. I did not realize that at all. But yeah. This was a brutal match. This was probably, like, next to the Mike Awesome one.
Yes.
In terms of, like, one of the most brutal ones we watched.
Yes.
May have actually been more brutal. I don't know.
I think you could make the argument for sure.
I mean, there were no steel signs in the other one.
No.
So there's that.
No running through the crowd.
The crowd was so we were like, well, we're going this way now. No, we're going this way now. Going this way. all right, guess we're going this way.
God, this match starts off with like, it's like they do a handshake. KAORU hits Aja Kong with a German suplex, dumps her to the floor, and then does like a tope onto her, and Aja Kong just cracks her head on the barricade.
Yeah.
Or like, yeah, it's like that's the match starts. That's just how we go. It's
Yeah.
like, all right, we're going.
Yeah. It went from 0 to 10,000, like,
It just stays that way essentially.
and stays that way until like the very final submission. I was like, holy.
Yeah.
It's intense. It was a fun match, though. I mean, like,
Yeah.
at a certain point, I was just like, "Oh, KAORU, you gotta stop going after her arm. Like that's a lot. That's a lot. You need to chill out." But like, I get that that's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean, the whole story is that, like, you know, KAORU she has the arm bar as her submission she wants to do. Aja Kong has the Hurricane, the spinning back fist. So obviously she wants to negate the arm, and obviously she does that by the submission. She does it by stabbing her in the arm with the table.
Stabbing her in the arm with the table was intense, but she
Yeah.
just kept going after that arm, even after it had already been stabbed. And like, it was very clear Aja Kong was in a lot of pain.
But
And
so
yeah,
go ahead.
she made it. She did it though.
Yeah, Aja Kong is able to win. And then, like, afterwards, there's a really great show of respect between the two of them. It's like, yeah, we just beat the out of each other. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yay!
People love this match. Let's go. Yeah, this match kicks a lot of ass.
It was intense.
Yeah. And then we ended up with more a modern representation of U.S. women's wrestling. This is from NXT, which is WWE's developmental brand. From NXT TakeOver Brooklyn from August 22nd, 2015 for the NXT Women's Championship. Sasha Banks defends against Bayley. Al's got a lot to say about this match, obviously.
I was waiting for you to say stuff about it before I said stuff about it. Because I thought you would like give more context.
So yeah, this is like this is a time when main roster WWE was in the pits. Like, everything was just bad. And NXT at the time was basically starting to become this. They were starting to poach a lot of people from the bigger independent promotions at the time. So they were kind of building their own super indie.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that they used to kind of bolster things was like, hey, we're going to take women's wrestling actually seriously for once. Which I know is shocking for something in the WWE to do, but this was the genesis of them taking women's wrestling seriously. So, like, they had built up, you know, these characters and these women to people who could, like, main event shows and everything, and people bought into it, which is, again, something surprising for WWE audiences to do and all that sort of stuff. This match, I think, is seen as, like, one of the better matches from this era of NXT, of course. It is the first time they had taken NXT out of Florida, which is that they ran at Full Sail.
Oh, really? They were at Full Sail?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They would just run their TV tapings there.
That makes sense.
And just do everything from there. And this is the first time they went on the road to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. So, like, the first time a lot of these people were probably wrestling in front of, like, a sold-out 15,000 seat arena.
Hey, I've been to Barclays.
Yeah.
Do you know who I saw in Barclays?
No.
G-Dragon.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, these two had a feud for a while. It's basically Sasha Banks thinks she's the Bayley is the perennial good guy. The fans love her, and now we gotta wrestle for the title.
She just wants to be like positive and cute with her side ponytail and her headbands, and Sasha Banks was like, "No, none of that here."
Yeah. This match is it's a good build where, like, things start off slow. There's, you know, some shit talking here and there, but then they really start ramping it up in the back half of the match, where just things just keep getting amplified and amplified and amplified until you get to the finish and everything.
I legit was so worried about Bayley's hand at that one point where she like slammed it between the stairs and the
ring.
Yes, that. Ow.
I really love the spot where, like, Sasha Banks has her in the bank statement and, like, she's going for the rope, and then she's like, "No, I'm not going to let you get the rope, so I'm just going to stomp on your hand."
Yeah.
It's violent.
That was intense.
Yeah.
That was
Uh,
intense. And then there's that like reversal thing that happened that was like even the commentators like, I don't know how she did that.
mhm.
That was cool to watch.
A
That
lot
was
of
Bayley doing that though.
yes, a lot of people were very shocked that they let Bayley do a poison Rana off the top rope.
I don't know what that means.
That's the move she does before the finish, where they're on the top rope. She gets on like Sasha Banks's shoulders and flips backwards.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And Sasha Banks lands on her head when she does that. Goes bonk.
Right.
She bounces. Because I don't think people in WWE were really doing that at the time, especially from the top rope. So that was a wild thing to see. But yeah, a lot of this match is just like, I think if you looked at it now, it's kind of just like, it's fine. The crowd really carries it because like the crowd is just 100% bought in and into everything that they're doing.
Right, yeah. Like they were into it. I was a little irritated by the announcer like just
Yeah,
talking
that's
about like
just
Sasha Banks being the boss.
that's just WWE commentary style, especially for that time period. Is that like we have to have the good guy and bad guy announcer argue with each other the entire time.
Yeah, that was really annoying. But like the match itself was really cool and
Mm-hmm.
like um I had mentioned to you like these ladies are built.
Mm-hmm.
Like my God. I don't know how I would ever make my torso look like that.
Gotta go to the gym.
I would have to live in the gym.
Also, you gotta live in the gym. You gotta eat nothing but unseasoned chicken breast and broccoli or whatever
Yeah.
7 days a week.
But
Get on that Akihiko Sonata diet.
man, even Akihiko Sanada eats pancakes.
No cheat days.
But he does just like boil the chicken and it was like, buddy,
Yep.
come on. You cook like a white lady. Come on. Come on. Do better. But yeah, it was impressive. But it was pretty fun for me to see like the cutesy girl win
Mm-hmm.
because I didn't expect that to be the case. I was kind of expecting her to be like the joke. So it was cool to see that because that's not what I expected at all. But yeah, she did some really cool. I mean, they both did some really cool. But obviously Bayley won. It was so funny because her ponytail was just wrecked by the end there. I was like, girl, I don't know why you thought that ponytail was gonna last. Side ponytails do not last very long if they come against any resistance. Yeah, she did her best, I guess. And she got rid of the tassels, so that was smart. I did think she had SpongeBob on her ass for a bit though.
You did. That is 100% true. Oh boy.
But yeah, there was a lot of trash talk from Sasha Banks in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So that was intense. Do these two ever go up against each other again?
Yeah, like they've teamed. This is kind of like the same as the Rey Mysterio Eddie Guerrero thing, where like they've teamed together, they've gone up against each other a lot.
Oh, okay.
Now they're in different promotions, so they can't really do that. But
Oh, okay.
Bayley's still in WWE. Sasha Banks is now in AEW. So they can't really do anything now. But like, yeah, they've run the gambit with each other for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah, these two. A lot of people look to these two, especially as like people who propped up WWE, especially during like 2020 in the pandemic era, because they did a lot of like good character work as like the women's tag team champions, and I think they had the women's championship belts as also at some points maybe, but yeah, they basically were some of the people who really carried those pandemic shows for WWE.
Wow.
So yeah,
Good job, ladies.
good job, ladies. And that's all of our matches we watched.
We watched the wrestling.
We watched some wrestling. What do you say? Okay, so out of these, we watched 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 matches. What would be the stuff that you'd be like, man, I would like to see more of this in terms of either like style or like these characters or whatnot?
I mean, I'd always like to see more of Kota Ibushi because I think he's fun.
Yeah.
Um, I thought the Takahashi Dragon Lee one was probably one of my favorites that we watched.
Mm-hmm.
That one was just like had kind of a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Like it had some of the technical stuff. It had just like the booby slaps. That was funny. It had like the plot line to it. It had like not overly violent, but like, it wasn't just like, we exist either.
Yeah.
Like it was that was one of my favorites. I really, really liked that one. Um I'm trying to think what else. I mean, the funny thing is that I'm mostly like, hey, this Japanese one was cool. Hey, this Japanese one was cool. Because I would say, hey, like the one with Aja Kong was also really cool.
Hmm.
Like it got uncomfortable to watch after a while because it was so dang violent, but like it was fun to watch.
Yeah.
But then I'm sitting here saying like I like the one Kota Ibushi, that's Japan. I like the one Aja Kong, that's Japan. I like the one with Takahashi. So I don't know what that tells you.
You're a wrestling weeb.
Am I a wrestling weeb? Oh no!
Got him.
Got him. So yeah, that's where we're sitting now.
All right. North American promotions, get out of here.
Get out of here. No, they were fine. They were fine. But I feel like those were the most interesting ones to watch.
Yeah. Alrighty. We watched some wrestling. Al got to see some violence and all that sort of stuff. And we've done 400 episodes now.
We did. Also, the cats were wrestling for like a solid day after we watched all these wrestling things.
That tracks. They are little gremlins, and they like to just beat each other up because they're little goblins.
Little goblins.
So yeah, 400 episodes down. It's on to whatever the next milestone is. 500, the half century mark. That's not. That's not how that works.
Nope.
Whatever 1,000, half millennium mark. I don't know.
Our next milestone is 500. So
yes,
you know what? We're on the road to 500, and so far it's been a very fun ride, and so I'm excited to continue doing the podcast.
Yeah,
talking about whatever wild we want to talk about that week. And I'm sorry that I cuss so much that you have to edit it. My mom feels bad and apologizes all the time for it.
But weirdly, you don't.
I don't apologize for it.
It's just your mom.
It is just my mom, yeah.
No, it's fine. I don't care.
My mom can apologize enough for both of us.
True. So yeah, 400 episodes. We appreciate all of y'all who've been down this path with us and listen to even just one episode. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully you'll continue along the journey with us as we move onward and upward. Or backwards, who knows? Maybe we'll be back at $3.99 next week. You don't know.
You don't
know. But that's going to do it for us this week. So if you'd like more from us, head on over to seasonalanimeCheckup.com or sac.cool, where you can find past episodes of this podcast and other podcasts like Jared Now Watch. You can also find columns and reviews on the site as well. If you'd like more from AnLadium, go to AnLadium.com. She's got columns and reviews. You can follow us on Twitter and TikTok at Anime Checkup. You can follow us on Blue Sky seasonalanimeCheckup.com. You can buy our books, One Shiny Moment, a critical analysis of Love, Life, Sunshine, Hot Tubs, and Pac-Man on Amazon.com. And support us on Patreon, patreon.com/SACOVA. Buy us a slice of pizza, get access to unedited versions of the podcast early. Our monthly bonus Patreon podcast, which we probably should do this weekend.
right.
And then the whole bunch of other bonus content as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, will we go forwards or backwards? Who knows? And we'll talk about, I don't know. Who knows? Something.
I don't know.